Our host, the world-renowned Christine Enville, an IFBB professional, 3 times world champion, a mentor, an icon, and of course, a founding co-owner of the best supplements money can buy, International Protein. This episode, it's all about sleep. We learn how much sleep you need for optimum muscle growth, what your bedtime routine should look like, and triggers that help you get into sleep mode. Christine, how much sleep did you get last night? Because I only got 5 hours, and I know that if I'm on 5 hours sleep, then training just doesn't quite, I've never got the right amount of juice in the system.
Now I know why you're so thin, Ash. I do want to say skinny, but now I know why, because 5 hours is definitely not enough. It's not enough for muscle growth, and it's not enough for natural repair, and it's not enough for a human to really survive on and thrive on. I actually got 7.5 hours last night because it's Friday night going into Saturday. It is my extra sleep day. I am targeting 8, and believe it or not, it is between 7 and 8, which is the optimal amount of sleep for people regardless of what they're doing. Obviously, when you're weight training, the muscle growth and repair happens while you are sleeping, so the sleep is absolutely critical, and you will definitely notice the difference between the growth and the recovery that someone gets who's getting, say, only 5 hours sleep versus someone who is getting that 7 to 8 hours sleep.
I try not to do it on a regular basis. It just, sometimes happens. So
I don't even know if it works like a sleep bank because, each night is kind of individual, but I think a lot of people do have to work on that system of during the week, it's a little bit more hectic and we get by on 5 hours, 6 hours, but, we catch that up on the weekend. And so over, a week's period, let's say we should be getting, 49 to, 55 or, that kind of range of sleep. So it sounds easy, but it's actually quite difficult in practice because there's so many things that distract us. Obviously with bodybuilding and weight training, I would like to think that someone's training hard enough that the sleep side of it, you want to sleep. You train hard, you're very exhausted and you get to that point where you just kind of like drop over and fall asleep and your body naturally tells you what to do. But I think in this day and age of pre-workouts and high caffeine pre-workouts and iPhones that distract us, it's becoming more difficult for people to actually get that good quality sleep because there's always something to look at, to scroll through. The pre-workout hasn't quite kind of got out of your system yet and you're still, buzzing a little bit from the workout. So,
you know what my issue is? One of my main issues is that for whatever reason, I live next to a hospital, right? And Australia, for some reason, they're not very courteous, right? Like ambulances in New Zealand, they'll turn their sirens off after 11 p.m. But no, not in Australia. They just every evening, bam, there's an ambulance going past. So that's my excuse.
So people have to stop getting sick at night.
Yeah, pretty much. Or Australia just needs to be more courteous.
Or you could put headphones on.
I'm in the wrong country to be saying this right now, aren't I?
You are. Yeah. You're in Australia. You have to just get to that point where you can sleep through all of that kind of thing. So, but let's just take a step back. Sleep, obviously, very, very important. We make jokes about, sleep when you're dead. I think, we have that thing around thinking that it's kind of tough not to sleep and that you can survive on not much sleep. And the reality is you're actually damaging your body a lot, whether you're weight training or not. People need to sleep because there's so many things that happen in your sleep. It's like the cognitive side of it, the repair of the brain. Like during the day, as your brain processes it, there's a bunch of chemical reactions that are happening. So you're creating byproducts, and these need to all get flushed out of the brain. I think if anyone has ever seen anyone who is sleep deprived and the impact that can have, I know someone quite close to us who got sleep deprived and tried to kill their flatmate's dog.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was through sleep deprivation. I know another person quite close in my family who, again, kind of got into a cycle of sleep deprivation and attempted suicide. So there's a chemical imbalances that happen when people don't sleep through that sleep deprivation, loss of perspective of, pretty much everything. But when you learn something today, like we listen to this podcast and I talk about certain things and people hear it, but the actual processing of that information happens when you're sleeping. Same way that, you break down your muscle in the gym, and then the actual repair and growth of new muscle is happening while you're sleeping. The rebalance of hormones. So lack of sleep can cause the hormone that tells you that you're hungry to get higher. So even when you're not hungry, you've got this high level of, and I always get the leptin and the ghrelin, I always get them confused, but the one which tells you that you're hungry disproportionately goes out of balance. So even when you're not hungry, you think you're hungry, making you want to eat. And that's a direct relationship with not enough sleep. Also, your insulin balance and your immune system and all of those things are all controlled by and repaired as you sleep. So it's almost like you need to reset. It's like you leave your computer on all the time, and it kind of goes a little bit funky and has to be shut off occasionally. Mm-hmm. Human body, it does. It's designed to have that cyclic process where you actually allow yourself to rest and process information, process, functions, rebalance hormones. So all of that needs a certain amount of time, and it is that sort of 7.5 to 8 hours. Now, going the other side, if you have too much sleep, it's actually detrimental as well. I didn't look into as much as the research as to what those problems were, but it's definitely not a matter of more and more and more is better. It is actually not good to go and get too much sleep. So it's that fine line. So when it comes to bodybuilding, obviously you are putting more stress on your body and you're wanting to repair it more. So I think in that situation, you want to be on the higher side of sleep. And as I said, you can see a direct result where people who don't sleep enough get into an overtraining cycle. They do risk more injuries. They don't get the same kind of results. And the people who do have that luxury of being able to grab a couple of naps, because I will say that too. If people are able to get in a couple of hours of a nap, that does contribute to that count of, say 7 to 8 hours. So if you're getting 5 hours but you got a 2-hour nap, that's okay in that 12-hour period. So people who are able to get that, good 8.5 hours when you're bodybuilding and doing that major amount of recovery and repair, because look at it like you're growing new muscle and you're growing, it's like being a baby. Mm-hmm. Where, babies do sleep a lot because they're like pretty much all they're doing is growing and developing, and they sleep phenomenal amounts of time. So same thing with a human, you're essentially growing new tissue, and you will see a direct result of better results when you are able to get more good quality sleep. So How do you do that? So number one, I guess, it's all those, it's a little bit cliched, I guess, but everyone always says, have a wind down, have some, don't be scrolling through your phone right before you go to sleep, or don't have the TV on. Like, do try to have that, a little bit of a routine that gives you that clear break from when you're looking at, computer screens and TV and stuff like that, and try to get some quietness. One of the things that I found really, really phenomenal for helping to get to sleep is a sleep meditation audio just to play. And I have one in particular which is the Tibetan prayer bells, which kind of sounds.
Is that something on Spotify that you can have? Or
yeah. This is actually one through my mentor Aaron Sansoni's own program that he has, and it's one that he's done. It's 20 minutes long. And I've never got to the end of it. Like I'm
right.
Yeah, but there is an app on Spotify. I can't think of the name of it. It's like but it's basically a whole bunch of different meditations. And if you Google, if you search specifically sleep meditation, people will find one, because I think the thing with meditation, I'm not, it's not something I do a huge amount of and probably should look into, but for relaxing and winding down and kind of bringing that focus into, calming the mind down and stopping it from racing, then meditation is really, really good. But the voice of the person who's leading the meditation has a massive impact. So if you don't like the voice, it's almost irritating.
And if it's not a voice and it's sounds, I guess regardless of what it is, it becomes a trigger point, right? So your brain just gets into the mode of it's time and it's ready for sleep.
Yeah. And that's, again, it builds a habit, but it has to be something which is, I guess, calming. And I know that it's not just that. There's also a lot of actual other apps that have sounds and sleep sounds, and some people like the sound of rain, rain on the tin roof, waves is, I guess, another really, really popular one of that kind of calming thing. But I think it's really about the reason why the meditation and why I say the voice is because that kind of guides you into it, and it gets your breathing set, and it gets you to kind of center and focus on that point. Whereas if you're just kind of listening to a sound, it's very easy to block that off, and your mind can still jump onto other things, which is, I think, what stops you from getting to sleep is when you're thinking about your next workout, you're thinking about your next meal.
Yep.
Had you prepped what you needed to prep? All those things, particularly when you're getting close to a competition, for some reason, insomnia does kick in. Like I'm sure anyone who's competed here will relate to this, that exactly when you're feeling more and more tired and you think that you should be able to sleep is those nights when you're just laying there and you just cannot get to sleep, and there's a million things running through your mind and you're more and more tired, but you want to sleep but you can't sleep, and you're into that sort of
that stress kind of mode.
Yeah.
And you've got something important the following day sort of thing. So you're thinking, yep.
And then unfortunately that just is one of those things which happens. It's almost like the leaner you get. Like it's almost like the leaner you get, the more your mind wants to get hyperactive and that. So same thing again, there's supplements. We talk about the supplement side of it. Not 100% certain in Australia where the melatonin's sitting at the moment, but obviously melatonin is one of the great supplements that people take to help them get off to sleep.
But you shouldn't take it too often, correct? Because the body stops producing it naturally or something?
I think, I honestly, I'm not sure on that, whether like at the dosages that are available in Australia, like the little 5 milligram dosages, whether that is actually a problem. Yeah, like anything, you should not become reliant on it like a crutch. Like it's really for a reset. Like if you're struggling with that period of time where you're really not able to kind of, or you're super tired at 8 a.m. in the morning, but you just can't sleep at midnight. You need to kind of reset your body so that it's tired at midnight and wide awake at 8 a.m. Use it for a period of time. But there is also now a lot of, natural sleep medication things. I shouldn't say medication, things like your ashwagandhas. There's another one that's based on hops or something like that that's put out by someone like Nutrilife. It's just available through like your normal kind of chemist warehouses and stuff. But again, those are products which are natural, not hormonal, and are designed to kind of put people into that state of sleep and relax them. Obviously, things like valerian are also very well known for putting you into that relaxed state. Magnesium, a lot of people associate that with muscle relaxation. So there are a lot of natural things that people can look at. There's also, if you're talking about protein, a nighttime protein, casein is, something which is kind of associated with milk and sleep and all, having something like that. But
there's the old
got to fit into your diet. Like that's the only catch-22. Like you don't want to eat spicy food. You don't want to eat I guess food which is kind of going to cause discomfort. So you want to be mindful of like how soon to when you're going to bed that you're eating, and then you're not eating something which again is causing your body to be there digesting. So you're trying to sleep, but your body's essentially awake because it's digesting food. So the timing of your meals before you go to sleep. But I think, there's probably some, products which are like, hot chocolates and things like that, which have got some of these things to help you sleep. But yeah.
There's the old, I don't know whether you call it a wives' tale or not, but have a hot milk before you go to bed. But if you eat cheese, you have funny dreams. Is that right?
I have heard that. And the reason I was kind of, it's that thing where, casein we do promote before bed, and that's obviously makes up the majority of the protein in a milk.
Yeah.
But there is actually one of the amino acids in that, which is actually one which keeps you awake.
Okay.
So that could be why it's more concentrated in cheese, because it's basically just the casein, whereas milk is not as concentrated in casein as what pure cheese is. So maybe that's why cheese causes that. But there is actually one which is what we call it's one which helps you stay awake, and yet it is always promoted that it's going to help you go to sleep. But I think it's more that the hot drink is kind of that it's the trigger. It's that trigger that you associate with winding down. Like you wouldn't drink a coffee, but you have something which is soothing, or chamomile tea or some kind of thing which is associated with calming, soothing, marks that point where you start to wind down. So it's like your sleep routine and creating a routine. So that'll be my my big tip. Obviously, when you're working out your diet, make sure that you're having something, not too close to bed so it causes some kind of discomfort which, stops you from sleeping.
Like having too much chamomile tea and having to pee every 5 minutes.
Well, that's the other part of bodybuilding, that you do seem to pee more frequently when you're getting very close to competition, because you're not holding a lot of things in your body, sodiums and even glycogen, which causes the water to stay in your body. So you do actually feel like you're up every couple of hours peeing when you're competing So it's the thing where it's a battle and it's a part of the process, and you kind of have to be able to get back to sleep as quickly as possible, and that's where those routines and those little signals and maybe you need to, if you can't get back to sleep, that's where maybe that sort of music can help you to trigger back off again. So it's individual thing, and I don't think there's a perfect solution for it, unfortunately, when it comes to comp time, because it's that thing where so much that happens in comp is not necessarily ideal, but you need to do it, and it's part of the end result, and the end result is why you do it, and that becomes worth it. But if you were competing and you were just training to be healthy and fit, then you wouldn't be kind of pushing your body into that extreme side of things. You would kind of, if you're in that situation, you would probably like peel back a little bit and not go so hard at it, because you're going to, you might create more problems than what you're getting the benefit out of just being fit and healthy and, training for recreation. So have to really separate, bodybuilding with the purpose of competing and, being the best in your field and taking it to another limit, like anything, any kind of, sport where you're at a high level or anything that you do competitively. It goes beyond just fun and does sort of take you into a new league, which I guess is part of the challenge, like push yourself and see how far you can go. But if someone's just doing the health and fitness, wants to, improve the way that their body looks and, eat a better diet and live longer, then you don't need to push into that realm. You stay in that area of clearly being more healthy and more fit. And that's when you want to be mindful of, getting the right amount of sleep.
So if you don't get the right amount of sleep and you're just in this for sort of the health side of things, should you train? Should you train that day when you sort of have it as a routine, but it's not essential to your results?
Yeah, if it was a one-off thing where you had maybe gotten 5 hours sleep when you normally were getting your 7.5, and it was just a one-off, I would probably still train, But if it was 2-3 days in a row where you had been less sleep than usual, then I would probably consider not training, because you are putting your body in that higher risk of injury. Your immune system has also been pressured by having that lack of sleep. So there's so many other factors in play, and you're probably not going to get the result. And if you're not going to have the sleep that night, it might even be a question of the day that you train, are you going to be able to sleep that night? Because if you're not going to get the repair and the recovery. So your chances are you're not going to get the results from that day anyhow. So I would be looking at, okay, I didn't sleep well last night, but am I going to get a good sleep tonight? If yes, then definitely I would go ahead and train. If I didn't sleep well last night and I know I'm not going to have enough sleep tonight because I have all these things on, I would maybe sacrifice that training session and actually try to get the sleep. So if it's an hour and a half I'm normally training, does that mean I can actually get to bed a little bit earlier? So I would probably look at like that if I was just training recreationally, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, if you don't get the right amount of sleep, I've heard from someone in the fitness industry that you should drink water like you're drowning, because your cells just need it. What's your opinion on that?
I don't think I don't think that one's going to replace the other. I don't know that, like, obviously hydration is another, like, the two things can go together, and a lot of the time lethargy, tiredness, poor performance, all of those kind of things in sport are actually associated with dehydration.
Yeah.
So yes, it's going to help to that degree if it's dehydration, but it's not going to help all the things that we talked about in terms of rebalancing your hormones, allowing you to process the cognitive learnings that you've had throughout the day, allowing your muscle to grow and repair. Water is not going to replace sleep.
Yeah, but will it assist?
It'll assist if dehydration was the issue.
Right. Okay.
And as I said, a lot of the time the two things are linked, or a lot of the time just in general, like we're not talking about dehydration, but I've just had the experience recently where I've put a few people onto either our 211 or our amino recovery, and the results that they've had from that are like extra energy. And obviously, amino acids during training help with that. But I think a lot of it is also the fact that they're probably drinking a lot more than they would have normally. Mm-hmm. Like you're consciously taking a product and having, maybe 600 ml of water, whereas normally you had nothing. So maybe you weren't having that 600 ml of water. So the extra water that they're getting in is also adding to that. So having that routine of drinking is helping. So it's something that I remember I was told very early on in my fitness journey, that people said that like majority of people don't actually realize that they're dehydrated. Mm. So as you can see here, I'm sitting here with my water. You've got your water.
Yeah.
I'm on to my second refill. I don't know if you've drunk anything, Ash.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got
okay.
your water bottle, but you're not drinking.
Oh, that's because you talk for so long, and I'm going to have to go to the bathroom otherwise.
Yeah, but
How's that for a good excuse? There was a wee tick, wasn't there?
It was terrible because I'm the one talking and drinking. You're listening and not drinking. So the two things can go together. Obviously, if you're sweating overnight, and again, that can be an issue too, where people are, because your metabolism is going faster when you're training, you're hotter, you're going to get that double impact of being dehydrated, which gives you that hungover feeling, and lacking sleep. So those two things are bad. So the water is going to help with that. But as I said, it's not going to help with the rest of the processes that you actually need to get from sleep, because it'd be wonderful if it did. And definitely, it's really, really good to hydrate, but it's going to help some of the problems, but not all of the problems that you get from lack of sleep.
Right.
So, but working out when you're tired, again, unfortunately, when you're, training for a competition, the two things are, they kind of go hand in hand. You're tired physically because you're on reduced calories, not necessarily tired from lack of sleep. So I guess there is that differentiation to make, but you can be tired because, as I said, it can be very hard sometimes when you're, particularly like that last 4 weeks before a competition seems to be when sleep just evades you and you're like, lying there thinking about goodness knows what, and you're also flexing. Like a lot of people probably will relate to this if they've competed, but, you're lying in bed and you're just like, because you feel hard, you're kind of flexing and testing, like, oh, what do my legs feel like? Can I pinch any fat there? And it just is a process, but it's a short period of time really in the relationship of things, that 4 week period. And it's that matter of once you're in the off season again, then get back into a good sleeping routine, because that's where you're going to do your growing. So you really, really have to focus on getting that right amount of sleep. Otherwise, you're doing all of that work in the gym, and you're only going to get the results to 50% of what you should be getting, or maybe even less, if you're not backing it up with the sleep, which is when the muscle growth happens. So always think of it like that. The muscle grows when I'm asleep. So I need to sleep or I'm not going to grow. Right. Simple as that.
Okay. Anything else to add?
If you can't, don't stress, because that's going to obviously create more stress.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Stress is also the enemy of muscle growth and the ability to sleep. And I guess if you are in a really, really bad position or a bad cycle where you're not sleeping well, then as always, I would seek medical advice, because you don't want to be on sleeping tablets, but there are other things that they can maybe recommend to get you back into that cycle. Because if it's because you're simply out of a cycle, like your rhythms, your circadian,
like traveling, right? Like different time zones. Yep.
Yeah. So there's definitely ways of short term, and again that's the melatonin was really designed for traveling, where people's rhythm got totally out of sync with where they were going to, and the melatonin helped to bring that back into that sync. So if you've got out of sync, then that's a good thing to take. But always look for something natural, to help out. And as I said, come back to those key routines of clearing that little bit of space, maybe not having your phone near the bed so that you don't check it during the night if you do wake up, like trying to keep that away, because that's something that wasn't around.
It should be in completely the other room, to be fair. And the alarm, you should have to get up to go and turn the alarm off so you don't keep snoozing.
That could be something too, as long as you can hear it from the other room.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they would be my big tips, is to try to create, for everything that we talk about, whether it be the nutrition, there's always a routine to it, training time, what you train, and then obviously like at night time, trying to go to bed at the same time. That's another one actually we didn't cover off on that routine thing, where if you are a person who one night you go to bed at 9:30, the next night it's midnight, the next night it's like 10 o'clock, then it's midnight again, trying to have a set time, a set routine.
So what's your routine? Does the alarm sort of go off at 8 p.m. and says sort of get into your mode and have your chamomile tea? How does it work for you?
I don't have an alarm, but no. I am very mindful of it. I look at my clock on my computer.
Well, you're super disciplined, let's say, for normal people.
It would probably be a really good idea. But you've got to give you that wind down time. The pre-warning. If you need to be in bed by 10, don't set the alarm at 10. Because you might even want to set it at 9. Yeah. And then at 9:30 or something to make sure that you're on track, depending on what your routine is. Because I know myself from when I know, okay, I've got to start getting into bed by the time you've washed your face and packed up and done all your moisturising and everything that you need to do as you get older. by the time you're in bed, it's like 20 minutes later or half an hour later or something. So it's not a 5-minute thing to get into that. And that's part of my process of being away from the computer, away from the phone, telling myself that I'm ready to sleep, and then putting my sleep meditation on. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is obviously a really, really hot topic for a lot of people, I imagine. Let's summarize this again. What are the key points?
So getting to sleep, having a routine, like having some triggers and a routine to get yourself to sleep on time, or stepping back from that, making sure that the time that you choose to go to sleep gives you that enough time to sleep. Like if you know you have to be up at 7 a.m., don't be making 1 a.m. your sleep time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we talked about how that minimum, 7 hours really would be ideal. If you can do more than that, if you can do 8, that's great. But I think for a lot of adults, 7 is tricky. So if you're getting up at 7 a.m., then you would want to say midnight's when you want to be asleep. So you would set your routine maybe, from 11 p.m., start to get into that, get ready for sleep mode, have those triggers, like whether it be the music, whether it be, some other routine that gets you ready for that. Again, being mindful of what you're doing throughout the day. Like, does the training keep you wired up? Like,
what time you do it, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I used to do martial arts in the evenings, and I'd go home and my nerves would be bouncing just because I'd had to survive in the class, So, that was the wrong time to be doing it. So I would always train in the morning as opposed to in the evenings.
Yeah.
That way I sleep properly.
Which some people have the ability to do that. But if you say you have split training sessions, because, when you're competing, you might have cardio in the morning, you might have weights at night, you might have another cardio session after that. And that's where, looking at some of the products which can help, calm your mind, the ashwagandhas, the chamomiles, even the melatonin.
Even a bit of stretching, right? Even a bit of sort of yoga and stretching or that kind of thing would calm you down a little bit, surely.
If that does, I found that the stretching and the yoga wasn't as calming as what I expected.
Okay.
Because you get into some pretty awkward and uncomfortable positions.
Yeah.
But definitely some kind of meditation or thing to refocus. It's about bringing you back to a kind of a relaxed and centered type of thing. But again, for some people, yoga probably is the thing. You have to find your thing. It might be a particular type of music that you listen to. It might be reading a book.
Yeah.
But again, that's kind of keeping your mind awake. But I find if I want to fall asleep, I read a book and I'm like a page in and I'm out.
Right.
So it's just different people have different triggers. Find a trigger, but set your day up, set your routine up so that you have enough time to sleep. Be aware of the things that do keep you awake, and the things that do put you to sleep, and try to obviously emphasize the things that will help you sleep rather than things that will keep you awake. Save those things for the morning when you need to be awake.
Because a lot of people are very military or disciplined about their morning routines, but they're probably not very disciplined about their evening routines just before they go to bed.
I would 100% agree with that, because by that time things have just kind of gone, chaotic and again, particularly in this day and age of technology and stuff, there's like, you might, I don't know, see an ad pop up on your Instagram, or a friend send you a message, or there's so many things that can kind of come on and distract. So
you're also so fatigued by that time that your brain doesn't sort of really process in the way that it should. So you might set, that goal to have that evening routine, but by the time that comes, you're like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah. So it's automate it, like set it up so that it's foolproof.
Yeah.
Is probably the goal. But I think, as I said, I don't use it, but if someone who does get distracted by things has that kind of like warning bell, okay, yes, an hour, you've got an hour till you have to sleep, warning. Yeah, that would probably be a pretty cool idea to try to like. I'm
going to try it and I'll report back to you. How does that sound?
I think because you're my perfect guinea pig.
What are you trying to say? Pig. Food. No. All right. Okay. So, hey, very valuable stuff. I'm sure many people took extreme value from it again. Thank you very much, Christine.
Thank you, Ash.
Words of wisdom. If you like what you've heard, recognise that these tips, they're free. So show your support by becoming a loyal international protein customer by jumping online, hunt our product down and hit that buy now button. So once again, like, share and subscribe to our podcast so we can continue to bring you these episodes from our one and only Aussie Muscle Guru, 3 times world champion, Christine Enville.